Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dev Summit in our session. I hope you're having a great time so far and learning a lot about all the different ways you can build with the Zoom developer platform. So we're going to get started in about a minute here. We'll let everyone trickle in. Feel free to ask any questions while we go. We'll answer them in real time. This is a live session, and happy to help follow up after if anything requires a deeper conversation. So yeah, we're here for you, and our goals to help you be successful with the Zoom developer platform and specifically the video SDK. So that being said, let's go ahead and start the session. So here's your speakers for today. I'm Tommy Gaessler. I've been at Zoom for over 5 years, and I help lead our video SDK. And I'll pass it to Will to introduce himself.
Hi there, I'm Will. I'm a developer advocate engineer and more importantly, a migration specialist. I work with developers who are migrating to the video SDK almost every day. I'm really excited to share with you guys some of our insights that we've learned.
And I'm John Lieblich, also developer advocate engineer. I focus mostly on Android, but I say I dabble a bit in all of our native SDKs, and I'll be in this looking at Android and iOS.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Will and John, and for the folks joining us. We have a great team here that are experts in all different types of platforms and languages that you can build with. So definitely looking forward to our session today. And here's our agenda. So pretty exciting agenda. We'll do a brief overview of the Zoom Video SDK, and then we're going to talk about the Twilio Programmable Video end of life and how to migrate from that to the Zoom Video SDK. And then at the end, we have an exciting live demo. If you would like to participate, you can. And just want to get everyone's hands on the product and so you can experience it. So we can all experience it together and see what we built. So what is the Zoom Video SDK? The Zoom Video SDK is Zoom's technology package for developers. It's different than Zoom Meetings in the sense that this is your own video cloud. So we've packaged the SDK. A lot of the core features that Zoom has are present in the video SDK, but it's scoped to your account. And you can build all sorts of different use cases. You can see here these screenshots. It doesn't look like Zoom or Zoom Meetings or any Zoom product, but Zoom's powering the real-time audio, video, chat, screen share, and some of the other features there. And we also have a full set of server-side APIs and webhooks and quality of service metrics and all sorts of tools to help you be successful building with the video SDK. So what are some of the advantages with building with the video SDK? You're building your own custom experience. So while your users see your brand, Zoom is powering the technology and powering that infrastructure. So your users don't know it's necessarily Zoom. You can build for your use case, whether it's telehealth or education or gaming. How do we scale with the Zoom infrastructure? So once you build it, let us do the scaling for you. So we have data centers around the world. We support up to 1,000 real-time users in a single session. That's two-way audio, video, chat, screen share. And then you can always live stream to an unlimited audience. And then how do we go beyond? How do we go and innovate? We have monthly releases. We're always building new features for the video SDK. We're always listening to our developers and our customers and collaborating with them and implementing some of their feature requests and bringing technology from other parts of the business into the video SDK so that you can unlock roadmap items easier, by us continuing to improve and innovate with the product. So here's all the platforms that we support. You can build natively in native platforms like iOS, Android, Mac, Windows, Linux. We just released Unity support recently, which unlocks a lot of cool use cases. And of course, we support web, so you can build in the browser. Now, how does the Zoom Video SDK stack up? Like, what are the similarities or differences with the actual Zoom real-time media stack that powers Zoom meetings and some of our other products? Well, it's the same stack. So we have two sort of sides of the house, right? We have the native, the in-app experience, and then we have the web browser stack. So the native experience, it's the same native stack that's used by hundreds of millions of people with Zoom meetings. It's our own video codec based on H.264. It's the code, the same C++ code that we've developed over the past 12 years, and we've brought that to the SDK. And then the audio codec is Opus and tuned by us. Now on the web, how do we bring like the native and our custom codec to web? So we do that with WebAssembly, and it's the same web stack that powers when you join a Zoom meeting in the web browser, which millions of people do every day. So we use WebAssembly. We're able to bring our custom codec to web, and we also use some WebRTC, and then again the Opus audio codec. So what type of features are available? What's the developer experience like? Security. So obviously we have real-time audio video, HD video, virtual background, live streaming, but we also have phone call connectivity. So PSTN call in and out if you need to dial a phone call or call into one. Similar to PSTN, we have SIP H.323 call out. So SIP phones or SIP room devices, common in education or healthcare use cases. You can also connect to those devices to a video SDK session. We have granular audio control. You can choose within a session who hears who, what volume. We have raw audio and video. So if you want to use that to run your own AI with it, or just do some custom streaming, you can do that. Pan tilt zoom. We've built our own AI noise suppression, and then we allow you to configure the audio, whether you want stereo or high fidelity, or even like custom bit rates. And then going beyond audio video, we have in-session chat, file transfer, cloud recording, AI live transcription and translation, which we've built ourselves. This is a pretty cool feature. When you're talking in real time, you get event listeners containing the JSON of what you're saying. You can even translate it. So this feature is very popular. We see folks building closed captions with it, but also grabbing the context, the real-time transcription, and then doing auto note taking or running that through their own AI for their own business use cases. Then sub-sessions, we have breakout rooms within the Video SDK, and command channel, which is like a WebSocket layer, connecting all the clients. You can pass state through to everyone, or certain commands that you wish. So developer experience, we want the Video SDK to be easy to use. So we offer it on NPM, Swift Package Manager, Maven, CocoaPods. You can also download it from our developer portal. We went through already the platforms we support, but specifically on web, I just want to touch on a few items. We support desktop, mobile, and tablet browsers, and also web views. So if you had like an iOS or Android app, you didn't want to add, the 25 megabytes of package size to that, you could always open a web view with the web video SDK inside. And then enablement, we have custom roles. So if you want, one host, or maybe you want 10 hosts, and then 500 regular users in a session, you can specify that. And again, REST APIs, webhooks to manage some items on the server side, and then quality of service data. Lastly, just touching on security. So we support TLS 1.2 and then 256-bit AES GCM encryption on the Video SDK. Now, what about since the service is available global, our logic out of the box is to connect you to the fastest, closest data center, fastest responding, closest data center. But for regulatory reasons, you might want to, keep certain traffic in certain parts of the world, or even like cloud recordings, you want to keep them in certain parts of the world. So we actually support that as well. You can opt in or out of certain data centers globally. And then we also have controls that help enable HIPAA compliance. So that's the video SDK. Now let's talk about the Twilio migration quickly here. So, as a developer, it's never fun to get an email that says, action required, or a product is deprecated, or there's an end of life of a product. But, we worked with Twilio over the past year and a half to make sure that we could plan an easy migration. So a little background, Twilio made the business decision to end their video product, and they reached out to Zoom on, seeing if they could work with us on a smooth migration. And so we've worked with them. We've created a number of resources and like a plan to basically help onboard all the Twilio video developers. So why did they choose Zoom Video SDK though? Because there's a lot of other real-time audio video products out there. The first reason is we had feature parity with them. So there was no extra work that we had to do. We actually had more features than Twilio. So a lot of the Twilio migration customers coming over are like, oh, wow, we can not only we can migrate to Zoom, have better audio video, but there's all these other features that Twilio didn't have that we can now build with, like the AI live transcription. The migration is simple. There's no UI changes needed. You can keep your existing user interface. You're just swapping out some JavaScript. Instead of pointing to Twilio servers, you're pointing to Zoom servers. Your end users won't know anything changed besides maybe better audio video. Zoom is a big company. We have many video engineers and data centers around the world, world-class security. So it's a stable migration path and a long-term leader in the video space. So here's just a quick quote from Donal, Director of Product Management at Twilio, some reasons that Twilio chose Zoom. So if you want to take a quick glance on this, but basically the previous slide covered most of it. So who has migrated? I don't know if you all caught the opening session with Brendan and Tim, but Practice Better was included. They're one of the Twilio migration customers. So they've they're migrating to Zoom Video SDK. So it was great to have them and talk about the Zoom platform. But here's some other companies that have migrated. So we have companies from the the therapy and the coaching space. We have companies from the interviewing and proctoring space, healthcare, and even in fitness and gaming. So these are all customer stories. They're published on our customer stories website. Feel free to read more or take a look at these if you're interested to hear what they learned about migrating from Zoom and the benefits. All right, now obviously as developers we love to build and get our hands dirty quickly, but you can start building with the Video SDK with 10,000 free minutes a month, and but once you go to production, you're using more than that. We're actually price matching the Twilio video contract. So if you have a contract with them or you're paying by minute, we can match that for you and make it really easy. You can also get out of your Twilio video contract. So if you've negotiated say a 5-year term with cheap pricing, you don't have to wait till the end of life to cancel. You can actually, we partner with Twilio, you can get out of it early and then migrate to Zoom, so you don't have to pay for 2 video products. So free migration support, like I mentioned, we have a great team, myself included. We're here to help you migrate to Zoom Video SDK. And then once you're deployed to production and running, then we have premium support plans. And finally, if you don't want to do the migration yourself, or maybe you're maybe you contracted the work in the first place, we have a partner network who specializes in building video SDK solutions and migrating from other companies and vendors. So we can handle the migration for you if you want. So just wrapping up a few more slides here. What if I'm using other Twilio products? This is one of the most common questions that we get. I'm using Twilio Video, but I'm also using Programmable Voice and Task Router. Well, you can keep everything that you have with Twilio already. We're just replacing the video product. We're not replacing Programmable Voice or email or SMS or Task Router. We work great with all of the Twilio solutions, and we have a number of blog posts and tutorials on how to easily work with them. So you can keep all your other logic the same. You're just swapping out some of the code pointing from the Twilio video servers to the Zoom video servers. Again, we have a lot of migration resources. And on our developer website and developer blogs, feel free to take a look if you have any questions or reach out. So with that being said, let's do a sample migration. So one of the other common questions we get is how fast does it take to migrate? And Will's gonna help walk us through that.
Awesome. Thanks, Tommy. As Tommy said, two of the most common questions we get asked from developers is how hard is it to migrate, and will our customers notice any migration? Well, when migrating with the Video SDK, you don't have to change the UI at all. Your end users will have no idea that the technology stack has changed besides improvements in performance and the additional features that we provide. Migrating has been made as simple as possible. Developers who have migrated often say that it has been more simple than they would have thought, and that it oftentimes results in a more straightforward code base. Let's take a look at how simple a migration on web might be. First, we'll take a look at what it's like to join a session using the Zoom Video SDK. Joining a session in Twilio is a very similar experience as in the Video SDK. Here we can see that developers can simply initialize the session and join in under a few lines of code. Next, let's take a look at starting and stopping video. By using the recently released attached video function, developers can easily render individual videos across the user interface. This results in a much better developer experience. Developers will find that by using the Video SDK, you simply need to call a few lines of code to start or stop a user's video. Now let's take a look at rendering user videos. Just like with Twilio Programmable Video, the Video SDK provides a robust set of event listeners that give developers the ability to call code when something happens in the video call lifecycle. In this case, we can see that the video state change event listener is used to tell us when users have turned on their video so that we can render it to the page. With muting and unmuting, we can see how simple Zoom has made this experience. Zoom has reduced the burden on developers to control this aspect of the video call experience. With Twilio Video, this would take a number of lines of code, but with Video SDK, developers can simply call the start audio, mute, and unmute functions. And finally, we'll take a look at leaving the session. Just like in Twilio Video, Zoom Video SDK enables leaving sessions with a simple function call. And here I'll hand it over to John, who's going to tell us a little bit about the same thing, but with iOS.
Awesome. Thanks, Will. So yeah, I'm just going to walk through some of the most common functionality on iOS and then Android. You'll see some differences in scope for these. That is because we want to show the extensibility of the Video SDK and how you can do as much or as little involvement as you'd like for that. So to start off, first, what we have here is the code to join a session on iOS. Sorry. So on the Twilio side, you are just passing in the room name. You can see that there's a little bit more information required on the Zoom Video SDK side, including the JWT username and session password, which is optional. I'm just having a little bit of a delay with the slide control here. Oh, there we go. So then in order to start and stop your video, on the Twilio side, you do that through a camera source capture device, which you can call start and stop capture with the target. It's a little bit more simplified on the Zoom side, where you just have a video helper. We don't require you to select a specific device for this, so there's a little bit less configuration required on your end. I think we're just having a delay again with the slide control here. There we go. And then in order to render your video on the Twilio side, you would use a video view and add a renderer and then a sub view through UIKit to that. Over on the Zoom side, we have a concept of a video canvas. The video canvas handles rendering to whatever type of view you would prefer to use. So you can see that there, for some of these, there's a pretty significant difference in the amount of lines of code. So might be bad news for those of us that are paid in lines of code. Oh, I think there we go. And to mute and unmute audio, this is a good example of the extensibility that we offer in the SDK. You may want to do some checks to see what the current audio status is in order to update your UI accordingly. You can see that there is a little bit more open-endedness to the Twilio side, where you're using the tracks to publish and unpublish compared to just muting and unmuting. On the Zoom side, you also have the ability here to mute and unmute audio of other users if you're the host or manager of a session. And then finally, once you're done with the session as a whole, you can call disconnect on Twilio, or Zoom equivalent is leave session. And we also provide an option here to end the session if you're the host. So that would remove all users from the session and close it on our backend. Now we can go over to the Android side. You'll see that some of these code snippets are going to be different in scope from the iOS one. So the connect to room is pretty similar to joining a session through the session context object here. The number of lines of code is basically identical. And then starting and stopping video, again, similar to iOS, you have a capturer on the Twilio side, and we handle that all of that directly regardless of which camera device you're using. We do actually give you the option on Android to either iterate through each camera device, or if you'd like to select one directly, for example, if you're using a USB device, we can do that too. None of that will affect the code that you use to start or stop your video. And then rendering a video, again, it's the same as iOS, except instead of creating a UI view for it, you can use whatever Zoom Video SDK video view instance you'd like and use a canvas to subscribe to that. And this remote user view parameter that we're passing into the subscribe method is what would be the Zoom managed view. And again, on muting and unmute audio, this shows a little bit slimmer of an implementation so that there's no additional checks or any of the current state of the session. On Twilio, you can just enable the audio or disable it. On the Zoom side, you can mute or unmute yourself, or as shown on the iOS side, it's also available on Android as the host or manager to control muting and unmuting other users in the session. And lastly, this should look pretty similar to the Swift code from before, you can disconnect from a Twilio room or from a video SDK session with a single method call. And I will pass it over now that we've gone over. I think, Tommy, you're up.
Yep. Thanks, John. Great job. So hopefully y'all can see it's pretty easy to migrate a few lines of code that you have to swap out there. But now what's the next set of steps you might need to take? If you're using the Twilio REST API and webhooks, we have the same set of REST API and webhooks. So here's just an example of the Get Room API and the Get Sessions API from Zoom. So you can see a lot of the core concepts are the same. We have a session identifier that's unique per session. We have a session name. This is what you choose to name the session. And then start time, end time, duration, and some other properties here. So a lot of this is actually simplified as well. So you might find that the REST APIs sort of allow you to simplify your stack and implementation. We're also working on some really cool adapters to automatically adapt what you may have had with Twilio to Zoom so that it makes the migration even easier on the server side. All right, so I wanted to share a new project that we launched recently, and it's a pre-built user interface for the video SDK. So if you wanted a low-code solution for the video SDK and you didn't need to customize everything, you just wanted a out-of-the-box solution, and maybe you can adjust a few things here and there. We have that now. So it's called the UI toolkits. We have them for iOS, Android, and web. And this is an example implementation on the web side. So 4 lines of code. You import the UI toolkit. You can install it from npm. You can configure your session. You'll notice these are very similar to what's already available in the video SDK. And then you can enable certain features. So if you only wanted a podcasting app, you could just include audio. But if you just wanted a chat experience, you could just include chat. If you wanted everything, you can include everything, and the UI will update automatically. And then you just choose a container where you want the UI toolkit to be rendered, and then you can call join, passing in the container and the configuration object. And this will scale with your design and your UI, so it should be responsive. And we've also designed it so that it doesn't conflict with your CSS styling, and vice versa, unless you want to change some things. So very excited about this. We have some new updates coming that we'll share with you during our demo. But so if you'd like, we have a live demo here. I'll put the link in the chat as well. But if you want, on the right side, this is a QR code you can scan to be placed in the live demo. We'll all be in a session together. If you don't want to join the live demo, you can scan the left link, and that will just show you a YouTube recording that we've done. So what I'll do here is pull up the session. Hopefully y'all can see this. So here I am in the UI toolkit. Will's joined. You can see the participants in here. You can actually change some of your settings, like your webcam, your microphone. There's Will. You can set some virtual backgrounds. You can see the session information, and also the real-time statistics. So in real time, we're showing you what is the resolution. We're showing you the frame rate, your network strength. So we're very transparent about the service that we're offering. Yeah, and it looks like John joined us. Thanks, John. If you unmute, you might hear echo, since you're probably listening on 2 different, you're listening to the webinar and you're also in the UI toolkit. So I've muted myself. We can also go to gallery view. So here's gallery view. Hi, John. So now we have 7 participants in here. We have chat. Hello. Let me show screen share here. Here's just a blank window that I have for screen share. We can even take a look at the responsiveness of this. So all you have to do is, define a div where you want this to be rendered, and you'll have a fully built video experience. So maybe we can share a few items we're working on in the next release. So one of them is the ability to set virtual backgrounds for your users. So if you wanted a set of virtual backgrounds that they could choose from, you can do that. You can also allow the user to upload their own virtual background and have more control over the experience. We're also exposing the preview flow, so you can have a preview state before you join into the session. I can choose my microphone, I can choose my video, set my virtual background. I can join with video on or off, and then they'll be in the session. And then lastly, we're opening up some of the video SDK settings and allowing you to pass those in as well. And then Will, do you want to share a little bit about some of the updates you're working on for the UI toolkit?
Yeah, absolutely, Tommy. Thanks for keying me in here. So really excited to share with you guys today one of the things that I've been working on bringing to developers. As it currently stands, the UI toolkit is what we would call a composite solution, meaning that the layout and the design of these components, or the toolkit as itself, is not customizable. Well, that's not going to be the case for long. We're working on exposing the individual components that you see in the UI toolkit, such as the control bar, the video layout, the chat component, the users component, like you can see here on the screen, the settings component. We're working on exposing these all individually so that developers can have the flexibility to place these elements or components on the DOM themselves in the manner that they so choose. You won't have to worry about necessarily updating and keeping up with the video SDK release lifecycle. We'll take care of that. However, we will be giving you guys the flexibility to control the layout and positioning of these components. So we're really excited to be releasing this to developers pretty soon, and seeing what you guys are going to build with it as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Will. Yeah, it's going to be really, really great. Right now, we offer one layout, but like Will said, we're exposing under the hood where you can actually use the individual layout or the individual components. So if you wanted to have chat always be open on the side, you could do that. If you wanted to, have the settings panel always available so the users could easily change their settings, you could do that. So very excited about that release. We're working on that, just doing some final testing, and should be available soon. John, anything you want to mention on the Android UI toolkit or iOS UI toolkit?
Yeah, I mean, we're constantly working on updates on both Android and iOS, and we actually just released support for gallery view on Android this week and have a release with improved support for Objective-C on iOS coming either this week or early next week. And so I would definitely, if you're interested in using our native mobile platforms, definitely stay tuned, keep an eye on the release notes, and see what else we have in store.
Awesome. Thank you, John. And if anyone has any feedback, please share it with us. You can comment on the GitHub repo or email us directly. And Zoom is built on customer feedback, especially the developer platform. We love seeing what everyone is building, and we want to collaborate and work together so that we can build together and grow together. All right. So, we have about 10 minutes left. I think we could, just focus on some Q&A now. So if anyone has any questions, let's, feel free to put it in the Q&A. We can answer. We can also, in the meantime, share some links to documentation. We can share some. I'm going to close the video SDK session, by the way. We can share some, links to to GitHub sample labs to NPM. So anything y'all need. It looks like John's is very excited to play around with the video SDK instead of go on vacation. Right. So a few
Is
questions in the
cloud
chat.
recording functionality coming to the UI toolkit? It's
Yeah,
a great
so
question.
yeah, I mean technically, Martin, it's already there. You can start cloud recording with the REST API, but we are working on an update where in the control bar you'll be able to trigger cloud recording. So that's a great question. Let's see. Alan has a question. Does the video SDK session record to the cloud, or is there a way to get the transcript closed captioning after the session is over? Another great question. So we do record to the Zoom cloud. You can decide which region you want that recording to be stored in. And then we also offer a number of controls. If you wanted to move this cloud recording to your own storage bucket, we have APIs that can, and webhooks that can help you with that. And we also have some features where you can put an auto deletion policy on your cloud recording. In terms of the closed captioning part of your question, we do have a cloud recording transcript that can be available after the session, and that's just a file. But you can also use the live transcription feature to get the transcription in real time. So if you wanted to save that or send that or analyze that in real time, you could. Okay. Is it possible to have a gallery view with multiple HD feeds on the video SDK for web? Another good question. I would love to understand the use case. Typically on web, we see, I think up to 2 HD feeds are supported, rendered at the same time. But I will say, if you're in a gallery view, like I was showing earlier, you don't need all those videos to be 1080p or 720p because they're small. So it'd actually be waste of resources to do that. But if you have a speaker view, which I also showed, where you have like one primary speaker, then that would make sense to have them be rendered in 720p. So again, for web, we support sending 720p. We actually support sending up to 1080p. But rendering on the web page, we support rendering like 2 720p feeds at the time. And we'll auto scale that. So if the network is bad, we'll downscale to prioritize frame rate and audio, or if the device constraint can't support it, we'll automatically, our codec will automatically adjust. So as a developer, you don't have to code all that. All right. John has a question about Meeting SDK. I would like to access real-time captioning in standard meetings. You can do that as well. Zoom meetings and our Meeting SDK have the live transcription feature too. So you can get that via the real-time JSON event listener, like I was saying, or we also have the audio transcription file if you're doing cloud recording. All right. Jonathan has a question here. We've had hard time implementing the requirements for shared array buffer. Great question, Jonathan. You're actually good timing on this question. Shared array buffer is a performance boost for the SDK. We have the same set of features available. If you don't have to use shared array buffer, but for performance reasons, we have that available. But you can still use virtual background or render multiple videos or noise suppression. Now, we are working on an update coming soon to provide better performance without shared array buffer. So the answer is yes. Yes, Jonathan. And let me can I put a link in the chat that shows you how to do the virtual background without it. 1 second. All right. We have maybe 1 minute left if anyone has any remaining questions. Now's the time. So Jonathan, here's that link. Hopefully it helps. Okay, just going through the list here. Looks like most of the questions we've answered. Yeah. All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining. We're very excited to be working with you, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great day.
Well, thanks for building with Zoom. See ya.